Hi everyone, JJ here. Welcome back to Stock Chat Show. Let me get it all up and running here. I think we need to go live on Instagram, and we are live on Instagram. Hi Instagram, hi YouTube, and hi also to X. Those are the platforms I'm streaming to in this vertical format. I'm just going to check everything's working there before we get into it. I can see that we're live on X as well, so hi there. I'm trying this vertical format live show, stock chat show. Let me just adjust things here so we get going. The stock market's going to close in less than an hour. I aim to start on the hour, but I'm a bit late today. Forgive me, I was up late working on a new video for YouTube, which I'm pretty happy about humanoid robots. It was about, and we're going to get into that today. I'm going to talk about humanoid robots a bit, what's going on in this space. It was about Tesla and 6 other robots that are making waves right now. If I can find the video, I'll show you where it is, or on the page here. Let's see. Here we are. I'm going to just give you a brief. I'm going to share screen there. You can see there Tesla Optimus rivals 6 new humanoid robots rivaling Elon Musk's Tesla Optimus. And there are quite a few there. I am interested in this space quite a lot. That's why I'm making videos about it. And I don't know if you are too, but it's a good video to watch. And there was another video that came out today from Figure AI, which is one of the robots in this video. So things are really ramping up in the space, in the humanoid robot space. I do think it's going to be something. A lot of people don't believe that it's going to be anything, that it's just sort of a show. But Figure AI came out just today with a video of a humanoid robot. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and play that. Why not? I'll share this. This is the video. I can play it again later to catch up with people. I'm just going to check that we're all working there. I better go I'm just going to go to YouTube and see. It seems like we're live there. Great. And live on X, we know that. So let's go. Okay, I'm going to play this video because I do think it's interesting. So this is the figure status update they posted. And hi there. I'm just going to say hi in the comments. Hi there. You can give comments and I can see them. And we'll go. I see there's a few people that have joined the stream. This is going on the vertical format, which goes into the YouTube algorithm, so it'll pick up a few people there. Hi, if you're joining. Same with Instagram, and I don't know about X. Depends whether Elon decides to help me out by spreading it a little bit. Sometimes I'm critical of what Elon Tesla does, so funnily enough, it doesn't go so well for me on X. Funny that, freedom of speech, but not freedom of reach. That's how it goes on X these days. And so you don't want to criticize Elon because it won't work out. Let me just center myself here. All right, I'm getting caffeinated. It's in the morning here. I know the market's closing. It's in the afternoon, mostly in the US on the East Coast, but I'm still getting caffeinated up in the morning here. I'm in New Zealand, in case you didn't know. So let's look at this. Let's look at this humanoid robot clip. Just came out a few hours ago. And Elon will be looking at this, keeping in mind that Elon will be seeing this and saying, what are we going to do to counter this? Now, this is humanoid robots from Figure AI, which is a private company. You can't invest in it yet, but one day I'm sure they'll go public. A lot of funding behind this, and they've got robots working on a production line. Or it's not simulated, they're practicing. Humanoid robots actually working in a factory. It's in the BMW use case. So let's have a look. Working in unison, working on a production line, putting car parts in places, building something. Apparently this is pretty complex work that they're doing here. This is not teleoperator. This is autonomous working here. So this is impressive, but only kind of robots, nerds, leagues will be seeing this really. It's another one thing that did happen was that the Tesla bot, they put it running on a teleoperator robot talking with Kim Kardashian, which is good for marketing, but this is what we really must see. Useful word. Yeah. Teleoperator, this is all autonomous. It's about 70. These are all times. They're not being teleoperated by anybody. Just this is the impressive thing. So this is why you start in the near future to be faster. But as a demo, that means I don't know what you're thinking of that. And we will go and check the markets now. We'll just check the news. Let me check the comments. If keeping you keep going, you YouTuber, and I love the video. Thank you for that. Thank you for that, Chiller. All right, we've got a few people that have joined the stream there. Hi. So hopefully we can, if you're interested in investing, this is about the stock market, what's going on in the stock market right now. So let's just check on the news today. It's, as I said, it's the morning for me, so I'm just going to check on what's going on. I've heard a few things, seen a few videos before while I was having breakfast. Trump's caginess on tariffs raises the stakes for key posts. Actually, I'm just going to check the stocks. Let's check the stocks. This is my list. This is not the stocks that I own, although I do own some of them. I'm not going to tell you which ones. I'm not supposed to be giving any kind of financial advice, but I'll tell you what some of them are. So this top one that's up 14%, that's been going bananas. It's Agrify, which is actually in the US cannabis space. It's been acquired by a company called Green Thumb, I believe. Let's just see how much year to date now. Look at that massive spike that it's had. It's up only at 14% of this year, but just in the last, let's say, month, it's up 420%. 420, how about that? What a fluke to have 420, if you know what that means, if you have anything to do with that space. Anyway, let's carry on. So we've got a few stocks here. DJT, you know why I added that, just to check the Trump trade, so forth. That's down 8.33% today. Very volatile, that one, of course. But Trump's company there. And we've got that's Chinese company, can't remember what. KWeb is the Chinese internet ETF, down 0.73% right now. And these are also Chinese ETFs. FXI is another one like KWeb. S&P 600, small cap companies in general. We've got, let's just watch catches my eye, see what's up big and down today. AMC, the old meme stocks, still going there. GameStop's up 3% today. I mean, the market's been going bananas. It's fairly expensive, the US market. Yesterday we looked at the Shiller P ratio. We'll have another look at that today. If you missed that, it's the most expensive times in history at the moment, and that sort of indicates, the overall market. But I digress. Poet, which is a stock that a YouTuber pumped, ticker symbol U, and he had got $47,000 to pump that, and it worked. It's up 10, nearly 11% today. It's part of the AI related stocks. So is SMCI Supermicro, up 33% today. Supermicro up 33% today. I don't know what happened in that. To that, let's see if there's any news. Let's actually see what's going on there. Supermicro, 33%. Good grief. But if we go back a month, it's actually down 33%. So yeah, very volatile. And they've been having those problems with the auditors resigning. I mean, I wouldn't touch this with a 10-foot pole myself. Dow clings to a loss. It doesn't really say what the news is there. Supermicro is skyrocketing today. Is it time to buy the AI stock? That's from Motley Fool. They probably that's a kind of clickbait title. Supermicro stock surges after company submits plan to stay listed on Nasdaq. Well, Nasdaq. Well, we'll have to see. Marissa, you're here. Hi there. I can uh I can Elon killing this company. I can see Elon killing this company. Well, this is the thing. I think you're talking about the robots there. This is the thing that what will happen. He would see that company figure is in Texas too, I think, and they will be. Well, Elon would have seen that, and he'll be engineering to have. He'll be engineering something. I'm sure he'll have a marketing type event. Uh, yeah, What about a Optimus robot at the inauguration? How about that? Do you think that might happen? I don't know. Could be something like that. But I'm sure they're going to be engineering some sort of presentation. Like We Robot was the last thing that we saw about that, and now the next level is having these robots working autonomously in a factory setting and actually being autonomous, not smoke and mirrors, actually doing something useful. And I think that will actually probably kind of blow the world away in terms of the Wall Street's coming out with now reports about autonomous robots. I think it's going to be the next kind of wave, and it would not surprise me if Tesla stock, even though a lot of people think it's going to go down, might actually go ballistic if it catches fire because of this robot stuff. I don't know. That's my thinking at the moment, anyway. But good to see you, Marissa. Seen you on other streams that I've done, live streams. All right, so let's go back and just go through some of these. See what's going on here. Reddit. Now, Reddit's one that's been taking off too. There've been so many tech stocks and stocks been taking off this year. It's really, the market is expensive. I mean, I keep saying that. I'm going to flick to, in case you weren't here yesterday, I'm going to flick to this. Make that smaller. Can you see that whole graph? So this is the Shiller-P ratio. This is the Shiller-P ratio, and as you can see, it's almost the last time it was this high was in late November or late 2021 before we had that bear market, and some tech stocks went down 70, 80, 90%, and then of course this bottom of the market here was just basically the ChatGPT moment. And I think the robots could have their ChatGPT moment as well. I mean, people think I'm super bearish on Tesla, and I don't like Elon. He does some questionable things, but he does get the job done. And I think I've said a lot about FSD and autonomy, but I think robots do have a future. But it's not just Tesla. There are other companies like Figure and many others doing the robots are further ahead, but Elon's got the attention of the world to promote his product. But anyway, the market is really the third most expensive it's ever been, judged by this metric. It's only one metric, but I like to look at it. I do like to look at it. All right. So let's continue down the list here. There's a few stocks I keep on here, maybe 50, maybe 100, I don't know. Just see if anything catches my eye. ON is the running shoes, that brand that's been rising, getting more popular. ODD, Odd, that's a cosmetics brand, a new one, sort of a new IPO in the last year or so. And let's see if there's anything else that's really jumping out today. I know Robinhood went up a lot today because, well, not a lot, but it had an acquisition which was positive. These are Chinese companies here. Alibaba's down 2.61%. It cannot get a bid. Every time it goes to 100, it falls back again, even though the valuation is, a lot less. But a lot of so-called super invested fund managers have been buying that lately because of the valuation. And as far as mega caps go, it's compared to the US ones, it's definitely good value. But that does not mean that it's going to go up anytime soon. It's sort of beholden to the Chinese government. These stocks, aren't they? Really, they can kind of control whether what goes up and what goes down. I'm starting to think more and more. Anyway, this is Topicus, which is Constellation Software spin-off, doing well. It's had a good year. Let me see if something else jumps off the page here. It's all like, you know, everything's up. A few things, not everything, but everything seems to be going well. This JPM, the banks are down today. JPM and BAC, Bank of America, down. So then those are really smaller stocks here. We won't get into that, but let's get into see what's making news today. We've seen that one. Let's see. I'm going to jump over to the actual news. See what's making news. I'm going to pick out some of these videos to see, just to catch up with news. I'm going to read it. And also for people who are just listening and not watching, I mean, this is a phone format, so I hope you're not driving or anything like that watching. But if you're interested in just listening, you can do that. I'll kind of say more than I need to in terms of the headlines and things. San Francisco hopes to revive office with AI companies. Okay, that's the tech office market, which has been pretty bad in San Francisco in general, I think. Since the pandemic, really, you know, everybody working from home, that's really the problem there, and sort of getting people back. I guess they could convert to residential over time. I don't know. DOJ may force Google to sell Chrome to break up its monopoly. Really? I kind of want to see that one. I want to see that one. 22 minutes ago. Let's see that, because that's interesting. I don't know if anybody's invested in Google. They definitely have a stake in what's going on here. Let's just see, and I'll comment afterwards.
Shares of Alphabet are up 1.5% today, despite reports that the Justice Department plans to force a sale of Google's Chrome browser as part of its efforts to limit the company's monopoly in search. But could that end up hindering Google in the AI race also? Deirdre Bosa has more on the fallout in today's I'm a little fired up about this one, Deirdre, because I really like Chrome, and I don't want them to mess with my experience. So anyway, over to you.
Well, the good news for you then, Kelly, is that this is likely a long ways away, and it does raise some questions. How would you even split it off? And would Chrome be worth anything without the Google ecosystem? So for some investors, a sale of Chrome, though not for you, Kelly, for them it might be a better than feared scenario.
I'll comment on this after we've seen it, but I just want to say, I mean, Chrome in itself, I don't think that's not really worth much. That would be weird to... You think they could break off YouTube, for instance, if they're going to break Alphabet up? Waymo, Google, YouTube, even some of the other web properties, like the Mail and all that. I mean, Chrome.
And like I said, a long way off. There's variables as well, like appeals and a new administration to factor in. But it would undoubtedly have implications for Google's position in the Gen AI arms race, especially as we see that race move into its next phase, where agents or applications, they're going to be taking center stage. Here's where Google is uniquely positioned, in part thanks to its Chrome browser. It's really an ecosystem of data, synergy across its many products. You're looking at some of them here, and ecosystem lock-in. So when you log into Chrome using your Google account, it automatically syncs your browsing history, your calendar events, your YouTube recommendations, even your Google Maps locations across all of your devices. So an AI agent, it would draw on that full suite to build a highly personalized and unified experience. The more to draw on, the better the agent. Break out Chrome, though, break that synergy. Potentially, you give an edge to other platforms, not little ones either, like Microsoft or Apple's, that have their own large ecosystems. And that's also where this potential remedy misses its mark. Instead of leveling the playing field for those smaller search rivals, it hands big tech even greater lock-in when they're all trying to create these agents. And you really give a leg up to the companies that already have a lot of data. To your point, Kelly, right, you have everything in Chrome. Maybe you would just move over to your Apple ecosystem.
I'm trying to figure out, like, who are they going to sell it to? I mean, private equity? Would they sell it to? It can't be a big enough tech company that it would defeat the whole. And what is the consumer harm? What is the consumer harm that selling Chrome fixes?
Well, if you think about Google dominance, right? Chrome is key to that dominance. Like we showed you that image of all the different applications that can sit within Chrome that it draws on. So therefore, you would take away that advantage to essentially have that search monopoly, because you have all of these things then, and Google can offer a better proposition to advertisers that they have all of this data around you.
Right.
As to who would buy this, Kelly, I don't know. It's a good question because it really isn't worth the same thing without that ecosystem. So it's a good question, but it could certainly hurt that data collection for a Google.
All right. I eagerly await more details on this and what else.
So that's about data collection, specifically concentrating on Chrome there. I have my doubts whether that if they broke Google up, Alphabet up, they'd do a number of things, not just Chrome. You'd think, as I said, YouTube would be the obvious target to break off from Alphabet, but arguably these things might be worth more by themselves. Now I saw a comment here from Marissa again, a good one. Here in America, prison stocks were up based on the Trump policies regarding deportation. Now, if you haven't been kind of keeping up with the news on that or their policies, Trump was saying in rallies that he's going to deport, illegal or undocumented migrants immediately or as soon as possible. Now, I've seen sort of analysis of that, of what that would actually entail, and that would be, it's not even funny. It was kind of a dystopian kind of scenario where they would have to create detention centers, even if temporarily. I mean, where are these people going to go? And what it reminded me of here, I'm just going to switch screens here, where Marissa said prison stocks are up. So this is one, the Geo Group, that I think Michael Burry was invested in at one. He had his kind of dystopian predictions for the market over the past few years, and he was invested in this, I think, during the last Trump administration. So they, companies like this, I guess the market is thinking that they would have to create these massive detention centers, putting millions of people in there to process them, rounding people up from communities all over America through, ICE, the Immigration Service. Potentially. I think a lot of people think that they won't do this, they won't get around to it, but if they actually carry through with this, what an actual nightmare I think where that would be. And if you look at the Geo Group here, what Marissa was talking about, look at that. If you're there, Marissa, you can see that. Look at that. Just in the last, that's 5 years, but year to date, even in the past month, I guess, after the election. So after the election, it's up 86% on this news. So, in a world where private prison stocks go up that much on a new administration wanting to kick out a lot of people, where are they all going to go? Send lots of people back to Mexico and places like that? I don't know. You'd have to say that maybe when they come to do it, also very expensive, to do this kind of operation, not to mention the social upheaval. It makes me wonder if how many Republicans are actually have undocumented workers working for them in various ways, and people in administration even. Be an interesting one. I guess they have to be careful of that, or they could get caught out in the news by, say, if Trump had undocumented staff working for him somewhere, for instance. But thanks, Marissa, for that question. That's a really good point, I think, and it remains to be seen. See how that plays out in the coming months. Well, it won't be till after January, but I haven't seen them say much about it. It's all been kind of based on Elon, suggesting things and cutting the budgets and stuff. So in terms of cutting the budget, this is probably going to increase the spending in that area to I don't know, how long does it take to build camps, or are they just going to be makeshift kind of tent? Oh, it could be a nightmare, but anyway, we'll have to see what happens. All right. Now, let's look at some more news. The way the market has discounted geopolitical risk is a tragic mistake, says someone. Terry Duffy. Trump 2.0 will be different than the first regime. Well, that remains to be seen, says Anderson Capital. Okay, well, that's just one opinion. It just remains to be seen. We don't know. Don't know how it'll shake out. He's definitely got more experience. He ran on the fact that he wasn't kind of part of the swamp, so to speak, but he kind of created his own swamp, and people didn't last long. Just remember what happened in that. I don't want to talk too much about politics, but remember how many people quit or were fired. Makes me wonder if Elon and Trump will clash. They've got both got big egos and thin skin, so I'm wondering how long that will last. Bitcoin versus gold, the eternal question. Gold's competition more than Bitcoin. Bitcoin is up, of course. How much is Bitcoin up? Is it up today? Or what? I haven't checked. I think last time I saw it, it was like over 90,000. Can't see. Let's just check. I am checking. I'll just swap screens there. Bitcoin US dollars 93,000. Wow, that's worth checking out. Let's see. It's up year to date. Let's look at that. So it's up 120% year to date, and over the past year, 148%. So another one that's kind of a Trump trade in it. He's had his own dodgy cryptocurrency as well. I mean, I saw a video sort of saying who is behind that cryptocurrency that they're producing, and some dodgy characters behind that. I don't know how. He probably just said yes to it, not knowing much about it, I think. And it's amazing times we're living in, that the president's involved in his own crypto coin and his other company. It's crazy times, I tell you, crazy times. Okay, let's go back, carry on with the news. So yeah, Bitcoin 93,000, crazy. Tom Lee, the predictor on this channel on CNBC, thinks it's going to go to 100,000. I think that was his last prediction by the end of the year. Nvidia, so that's the big earnings for this. It's going to be Wednesday. It's Wednesday already for me here, but Thursday for me, but Wednesday in the US. Nvidia remains extremely well positioned for growth. We'll see what happens. Any weakness, you'd have to think at this point, because it's gone up so much. Any weakness in sales to those big, so-called hyperscalers cutting back on buying would maybe impact the stock. Okay, we're going to have another look at this one's popular. People are watching this one. So Nvidia earnings looming large over the market. So let's see what they've got to say about that, hey? Because this is happening tomorrow. We're kind of hours away. I see it's Josh Brown, so let's have a look. Make sure I'm sharing that. Let's see what Josh Brown has to say.
Speaking of great fundamental companies, Jim, what about tech? I mean, those are the names that got us to these all-time highs. Are they going to continue?
Keeping in mind that when Josh Brown's already said that he thinks it's expensive. He said he doesn't know why people are buying it. This was months and months ago before it had that last real
to take us there. We got NVIDIA coming out tomorrow.
Well, okay, so let's talk about NVIDIA. I want to give a hat tip to Josh, who's, the one I think of all of us who's been in it the longest, maybe you too, Jason. But look, the report is likely to be very good tomorrow. There's no reason to think it will be otherwise when you look at what the hyperscalers are talking about, CapEx, and basically every news item is people can't get enough of the chips. As far as the short-term price action, I would say really don't pay attention to it. A lot of this has to do with short-dated options that are people putting on to play the pop, presumably after earnings happen, and then they sell the calls, and that makes the stock go down. So don't be worried about the short-term action. Regarding tech in general, I think for the same reasons that we've all been talking about earlier in the show, people are going to be loath to sell these going into year end. Again, you don't want to take a taxable gain, and if you're indexed or in some way benchmarked, you're not going to want to take the risk of falling behind the benchmark. By the way, and I just want to tie this into what Josh was saying a second ago, when you talk about bottom fishing and why it's really a bad idea right now, is because the opposite of what I just said applies. The things that have gotten decimated this year are likely to be tax loss candidates. They're likely to get bear mauled in December. That's not where you want to be shopping right now.
Jason, I know you've owned NVIDIA. Jim just said you might have been in it the longest. What do you make ahead of the print? Is it too late for someone that hasn't gotten in at the price action that we're seeing now?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think the question is obviously how sustainable is this ongoing AI compute demand? how sustainable it is going forward.
For sure.
Yes, the stock's up 189% year to date. We're expecting about $33 billion worth of revenue. We probably will surpass that somewhat. I think in the next quarter, however, when you really start to see Blackwell come through, that will be the bang out quarter, which is the quarter that we're working through right now, which we potentially see $38 billion worth of revenue. So I continue to like this story. We hear from the hyperscalers and all the CapEx spend that's going in this space that obviously NVIDIA continues to capture. There's not a lot of competition for them currently. So I continue to like the stock, and I think that, maybe you're not buying it right here, but there will be opportunities that will present themselves. We've seen how this stock has traded over the last few quarters.
Josh, what are you waiting for?
So I did a video about Stan Druckenmiller, who said much the same thing about he's out of NVIDIA. He kind of regretted selling the stock when he did, but he admitted to riding the bubble. Here he is here. This is the video, Druck's AI Thesis. That's on this channel. If you want to subscribe, we'll just find out after this. If you haven't seen that already, where he talks specifically about AI and his NVIDIA trade, that he said he got out of too early, but he did take it. He got in early, I think it was like 100 or under 100, and got out at 8 or 900, so he did very well. He's never had a negative return. Never had a negative return.
Ahead of NVIDIA as an owner of this name as well.
Over 40 years.
There's a report out there that the implied swing for NVIDIA, up or down, is expected to be about 8.5%. That's in line with the average swing that we've seen over the last 12 quarters, but the company is much bigger than it's ever been. It's $3.5 trillion. So a swing of that magnitude is almost $300 billion, which is more than almost every publicly traded company's market cap. So we are basically looking at a situation where the biggest, most loved, most celebrated, most well-regarded stock in the entire market is coming out with an earnings report that yet again they guided higher going into. Analysts are now looking for $33.28 billion, which was a guide up from last quarter, 70 cents in earnings per share. That equates to 84% year-over-year revenue growth and 89% earnings per share growth. So my comments here would be, yes, we all hope for the best, but let's all be very honest with each other. A company at $33 billion in revenue, being able to do 84% growth on that, and then telling you they're going to do it again next time is very low. I think the tightrope that NVIDIA now has to walk is to remain optimistic about the future, but not continue to push out those expectations and give people the impression that year-over-year sales doubling for a $3 trillion company is in any way realistic as far as expectations. I think they get it. I think there's a way to do that. I think there's a way to give guidance, sound optimistic, but not keep painting yourself into a corner of people looking for doubles every time you report. We'll see if they can pull it off. That's what I'm watching for.
Yeah, so could be some magical verbiage. Stephanie, you actually prefer Broadcom to NVIDIA.
Well, I mean, I like it.
Magical verbiage. Okay, let's just interrupt them there. So I like what Josh was saying there, that it's over a $3 trillion company. How long can they go to beat earnings, continue to do that at that point when it's such a massive company here? Again, this is over at finchat.io. By the way, I put a link in the description to this. My viewers can get a 15% discount if you want to use FinChat. You can sign up for free and use the free features. Actually, they're pretty good. But for the subscription, 15% off if you use that link in the description. So let's just look at this. So if we go to, it's got like a Copilot AI, by the way, so you can ask all sorts of financial questions and get answers to that. That's better in the premium, obviously, where you get more of it. It's sort of much more open, more searches and that sort of thing. So CEO, blah, blah, blah. We've got, let's just have a look at some of these. The margins. The margins are incredible, aren't they, for NVIDIA? 75.98 gross margin, operating margin 61.87. I mean, every kind of bubble has got a grain of truth in it, and this is more than a grain of truth in this in terms of their fantastic figures, and it's because of those companies buying from them. Things that stand out. So return on capital employed is one figure that I like to look at, is 38.85. So you think that like the average of the S&P 500 companies for return on capital employed. I'm not going to explain what that is, but that is it's one of the important figures that they're really, return the actual capital returns are really important for businesses. They're for long-term, scaling and for investors. 38%. So the average is around 15% for the S&P 500. If you look at anything where these figures, this figure and return on invested capital is over 15, that's good. And look at these figures. So that's why people say that these valuations have been justified, but it's cyclical as well. So the PE ratio creeping up 66, and EV, enterprise value to sales, is 35. Yeah, so I see what Josh was saying there. Like it's kind of getting to be priced to perfection, and they've really got to deliver. So the PEG ratio also under 1 is good. It's for half of that. I mean, the figures aren't bad. It's not like during the dot-com bubble where we had pre-revenue companies, although it's getting to that point with AI. So a guy that was in OpenAI, Eliar, I can't remember his last name, but he started a company. He got funding he got a $1 billion funding, and this is pre-revenue. So, but he was one of the main engineers behind OpenAI. So you could say that's justified too. But again, getting that much money for a pre-revenue company when you've done nothing yet is pretty incredible. So we're getting to that point. As I said yesterday, what we haven't seen, if we think about in terms of a bubble, if a bubble's forming in the market, it's definitely frothy. There's no doubt about that. As I said, tomorrow is the big day for NVIDIA. We'll see what happens to the market. It can drive the market these days. It can affect the market, their earnings. But I now lost my train of thought. The AI bubble, we'll have to see what happens in terms of that. It's definitely frothy. But, that's what I was saying. So the IPOs, we haven't seen a massive wave of IPOs yet, which we do tend to see in kind of a bubble scenario as IPOs come out. Retail investors pile in, and if you've been in the market, if you've been investing for a while, and you can remember back not very long to 2021 and 2020, which it was crazy, we could say a bit of a clown market back then, but what happened was we saw a wave of, as I said yesterday on the stream, the SPAC boom, and Chamath Palihapitiya, is that his name? He was the SPAC king, and he knew what he was doing by kind of dumping these sort of crap SPACs on retail investors, and we haven't seen that huge wave of IPOs yet. So Stan Druckenmiller said that he sees a yellow light in the markets at the moment, not necessarily a red light, but he went through the dot-com bubble, lost a lot of money, got it back again. It was part of his not having a negative year. He lost a lot of money by riding the bubble, making a lot of money, selling out and getting FOMO and buying back in. So even great investors like that can be psychologically hooked into exuberant times like that. But we're watching for lots of IPO activity. Would be a next stage, although it could crash tomorrow. We don't know. So I'm just saying, I'm going to just have an interlude here and say hi to everybody on YouTube. Again, you'll notice that it's the vertical format, so you can, if you put it full screen on your phone, you can see this whole full screen. That's why I'm doing it like this, because a lot of people do see it on their phone. It goes into the shorts feed as well. It's different to the normal format, so I'm trying that, always experimenting, and I'll be doing these shows daily. But I'm also live on X, and I don't know how many people are watching there, but also on Instagram, which goes for about an hour. So this is going to get cut off after about an hour. We're at 38 minutes at the moment. So if you're watching on Instagram live, you might, if you want to keep watching, you might want to jump over to YouTube, Stock Chat Show channel, and where you can find it over there. But speaking of on X, there's people watching on X. That's nice. Okay, or have been watching. All right, so where were we? So that's had my initial rant for the day, and we got into the I was going to say the dot-com bubble, but really AI bubble, isn't it? And so let's get back to some of the news I want to see. I think we've seen enough of that NVIDIA, enough talk about NVIDIA. We'll just wait for that tomorrow, wait for the earnings and see how that goes. But let's see what else is making news. A lot of people will watch that. See this, you'll see here I've got vidIQ going on YouTube, which tells me, you know, how popular the videos are. So that was 6.3 times normal for the channel, which is CNBC. So you can tell how, you know, you can see how much interest there is in NVIDIA there, especially this week, but all the time. Like, there's a lot of people in that stock, so there's a lot at stake, isn't there? There's a lot at stake. A lot of people own NVIDIA at this point, retail and institutional alike. All right, Robinhood to acquire. Okay, I want to see this one. I saw that as Robinhood up today. I'm going to have a look. Before we watch that video, I'm going to have a quick look in FinChat. And again, 15% off if you want to get into FinChat. Robinhood Markets, we have, let's see what the stock's doing. I changed that to change, see the price change, and 5 days it's up 9.4%. It's not one I own, by the way, 30%. So it's having a good year, and I think again it's kind of a Trump trade because they do handle more and more things, and they're really kind of aggressive in what they're doing. 185%. It's kind of like one of the popular retail stocks. We've got Tesla, Palantir, NVIDIA, SoFi. Those would be the ones that I would pick out as being kind of popular retail stocks. 333% over the past year. Whoa. Why don't we just go back? But see that the IPO went way down there. So they, you know, insiders made a lot of money in IPO, selling shares into the market there, selling stock. But it took a while going along the ground during the bear market 2022. And then it's benefited from AI and, well, especially crypto, really crypto taking off. It's not covered up, is it? It is a bit covered up. Sorry about that. But let's see some of the multiples on it as well. Just have a look at an overview here. So what's going on with Robinhood? Let me know if anybody is invested in Robinhood. And we have Vlad's the CEO. Vlad. Gross margins 86.46. Now it's turning out to be cyclical because it goes up and down with the market. Another one is Interactive Brokers, a stock. If you look at the trading, the brokers kind of stocks, but definitely Hood has the eye of retail investors and the most publicity. PE ratio of 54. So all these stocks, you know, the US market's expensive. All these stocks are getting up there for sure, getting way up there. Valuation price target of $29. What are we at? 35. Okay. Yeah, it's fairly richly priced and getting more that way, a lot of these stocks. All right, let's see. Let's go back and see what this video is about. I want to see this about the acquisition they've just made.
Robinhood will acquire.
Okay, are we sharing? Let's go.
It's big news in fintech. Robinhood will acquire wealth portfolio platform Trade PMR. Let's get to Kate Rooney in San Francisco. She's got an exclusive interview for us. Take it away, Kate.
Hey there, Courtney. Yeah, thanks so much. And we've got Vlad Tenev here, co-founder and CEO of Robinhood. Rob Baldwin as well, CEO of Trade PMR. Big deal today for you guys. I want to start with you, Vlad. So $300 million. What's the strategic rationale behind this? And I was wondering, like, do younger investors actually want a human advisor? That might surprise people. As you guys are tech forward, we think of AI playing a big part. People do want an RIA.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, thank you for having us. We're very excited about this. Wealth management is a huge industry, $7 trillion industry in the U.S. Robinhood, as of Q3, $160 billion in AUM. With Trade PMR joining us, that takes us to $200 billion in AUM. And what we find is that as customers get older, their financial needs become more sophisticated. the need for personalized, high-quality advice increases. And Rob and team have just built an awesome platform with great technology, and we see an opportunity to accelerate that and to connect their network of advisors to our 24 million plus customers and give them access to awesome tools as they go on their financial journey.
And Rob, talk a bit about the demographics here. You've talked about sort of this gap, and you were describing it as maybe your RIAs are sort of the age of maybe the parents of the average Robinhood investor. How are you going to bridge that gap, and talk about the demographics?
Yeah, okay, so the demographics are interesting here, with obviously Robinhood coming into the foreground during the pandemic period. Again, people at home got their stimmy checks, and that's how Robinhood, people were speculating, gambling, and then they got the crypto in there as well. So it's sort of like a lot of people in Gen Z generation getting into investing that way, which is not a bad thing. They said it's democratizing, I think, and with zero fees. I mean, there are fees in there, but they're kind of market maker fees. There's no actual trading fees, but they are built in there. And kind of in the back end, and now they kind of, Robinhood seems to be expanding out into institutional, which is definitely something that's going to benefit them. They are aggressive, we'll give them that, and they're making some smart moves, I think.
We really want to create a multi-generational platform that helps bridge that gap and kind of introduces parties back and forth to each other. Because, our generation, that is retiring and so forth, even in the advisor world, they're looking to try to generate relationships with the next generation. And the truth of the matter is 70% of heirs fire their parents' advisor when they inherit money. And that's a really catastrophic event. And it's very difficult to reach that generation. So, with Robinhood, we don't have to do anything but reach them exactly where they are, where they have their products, where they have their services, and where they enjoy their user interface. So it makes this a real win-win.
$40 billion in assets. Do you expect any attrition? Are there any of your clients who just might, no offense, Vlad, not want to use Robinhood?
We haven't heard of any yet, so everything seems to have gone over really well. I think people understand this, and they understand the advantages this is going to present.
And Vlad, we've got Schwab's annual conference here. A lot of the products that you have launched would compete directly with Fidelity and Schwab. Can you talk a little bit about competing with the incumbents and the success of
So making moves on Wall Street for sure into sort of older demographic institutional investing. There's big money involved. There'll be much big money involved in here, so that's what they're after. And institutional money, there is absolutely trillions involved.
Trying to basically take
particular trade, but in general,
assets from them. You've offered some promotions, but are you seeing that flywheel continue? And what have the asset transfers looked like?
Yeah, asset transfers have been quite high. In the past quarter, it was we broke through the full year record of net deposits in just 3 quarters, with one left to spare. And I'd say when we talk to advisors, registered investment advisors, one thing that they don't like about the incumbent platforms is that they're competing with them. So they have their own in-house advisors, and there's this constant fear that their custodian is going to try to take their account. And I think that's something that's been missing since the TD Schwab consolidation. And what we can provide with Trade PMR is a level playing field for advisors. You shouldn't have to worry that your custodian is going to compete with you for clients. I think that's a big thing. Like, we talk a lot about the technology, the user interface, incorporating AI, but I think the biggest thing is just being able to compete for accounts on a level playing field, and also access the Robinhood network for client referrals.
What is this going to cost? And the Robinhood generation really grew up with free trading. I wonder how you're thinking about pricing some of this. And maybe, Rob, you could speak to what you charge at this point.
Yeah, right now our price is going to remain the same, and we'll continue to price everybody the way we have today. And most of those are very low cost anyway for just the platform usage. So we'll continue that for the time being, and I think everyone's acceptance of that.
And is it still going to be free? How are you thinking about that? Maybe all of a sudden needing to charge for these services?
In a way, what we're building is a marketplace. So we want to enable these advisors who are very much like entrepreneurs to connect with to connect with our customers. So the advisors will have freedom and flexibility to charge whatever they want. Of course, we'll try to make our overheads as low as possible and really make it so that, customers have access to the best quality advice. And I think there will be a natural competitive dynamic, as with any market. But yeah, it's really about empowering advisors with the best technology.
And so, Rob, we got Josh Brown on the line. He's got a question for you.
Hey, guys, I want to start by saying congratulations. Rob, I've known you for a long time, and I think you've built an incredible business, and this must be really exciting for you and Monica and everyone else. I wanted to ask, and either of you can answer this, there's about 350 RIA firms currently platformed on Trade PMR, and about 1,000 plus advisor representatives. What percentage do you guys think will be interested in taking on Robinhood clients? How many are going to want to be in this referral network? And then take it from the other direction. What percentage of Robinhood users do you think are looking for an advisor relationship? Thank you.
Okay, interesting question. I'll let them answer that. Just to let you know that the market's about to close, so we're going to go and check out what has happened to that after this. But let's see, market's going to close, see what's up for today. In terms of the overall market, we're going to see what's going on there. It is currently up, but let's just see the end of this Robinhood question. Interesting moves by Robinhood.
Sounds like I'll answer the first one. You can answer the second one. I think almost all of them will, Josh, after they realize what kind of client base actually Robinhood has. I think sometimes people look at that and they think that Robinhood is just all small accounts, and it's just not true. They've accumulated, these are Henrys that have accumulated a lot of wealth in many cases, and there's a lot of opportunity for those individuals. And we know they've already hired advisors elsewhere. So with this transition and this merger, we're going to be able to provide that service really, as a custodial platform at Robinhood as well.
And Vlad, I want to jump in just with one last question while we have you about, first of all, stock price. Robinhood's up about 40% since the election, largely on this expectation that new SEC chair could be a bit less hostile, at least towards crypto. What's your expectation for the new administration and the ability to maybe launch products quicker in the future?
I think there's a lot of optimism. I think that the incoming administration embraced this new industry, and I've been saying for a long time there's two big technological shifts that could change the financial industry over the next decade plus: crypto and artificial intelligence. We want to be at the center of that. And actually, when we talk to advisors, they really care about both of those things as well. They're asking about how they can incorporate artificial intelligence to serve more customers, improve their quality. They want access to crypto assets as well, which they don't really have access to through traditional platforms. So I think that the future looks bright. We're very optimistic, and I think that Rob and team are going to be a big part of that.
Is Dan Gallagher, your chief legal officer, going to get the SEC job?
He's got a nickname, right?
What's that?
The Crypto King.
The Crypto?
We call him the Crypto King.
You might lose him to the SEC.
Well, we'll see. I think the country would be lucky to have him, but of course, we think he can have a lot of impact being the chief legal officer at Robinhood as well.
We will leave it there. Vlad and Rob, thank you, gentlemen, for both your time.
Yeah, that's crazy that they could be part of the government like that. Okay, here's the next one. We're going to see this one. The train is approaching Crazy Town as US fiscal will likely surge. Let's see, is this talking about the debt? Let's see what they've got to say.
Political risks about to boil over and puts oil at risk in the first half of 2025. Joining us this morning, Barry Bannister, Stifel's chief equity strategist. Barry, good to see you again.
Good to see you.
You've been talking about correction risk for months now. I wonder how that's evolved, either for the better in light of a new administration and potential animal spirits, or maybe the other way.
Well, one of the things that happens in the market is that over time it passes through phases. In October, both a year ago and 2 years ago, the market was at its lows and pessimism reigned. Then we went into skepticism about a recovery, whether we would have a hard landing or soft landing, and then we transitioned into optimism about AI, about earnings, about the geopolitical environment, which I think was a little unfounded since it is at risk. Now we're at risk of going into euphoria and overshoot. These always have the purpose of setting up large declines on the back end. It's just the manic depressive nature of the market to swing from one extreme to the other. I'm better at the bottom too.
Okay, it's interesting where he's talking about the market being overvalued here. So you don't see that much on these channels really when there's euphoria.
Skepticism, pessimism, and as you get into optimism and euphoria, I'm probably not the best guest to have on because I'm not the euphoric type.
Right. You did say, though, the train is approaching Crazy Town. What does Crazy Town mean?
Well, one of the nice things about being on the sell side is you can attempt to be clever in what you write. Crazy Town would be things like the fact that we're going to have probably a surge in fiscal in the Trump administration. President-elect Trump is a nominal GDP guy, meaning both real GDP and the inflation component. We are a long way from having to worry about what's called stagflation as a major economic risk. So we could use for more nominal GDP policies, and that includes fiscal. So therefore, the Fed will stop cutting rates. I have no doubt that we will stop at 4.0 on January 30th, 10 days after the inauguration of the Fed meeting. The second thing is China has to resolve its liquidity crisis. Otherwise, its liquidity trap is going to cause it to spiral. And so China stimulating will stimulate the world, and it tends to be inflationary historically when they do so, one way or the other. And then lastly, you mentioned geopolitical risk. It's been festering for 4 years. I have my doubts about whether the administration can handle or solve all the problems quickly, but I also have my lack of happiness with how the administration in place now has handled geopolitics the past 4 years. So I would just describe the whole thing as a mess.
So defensive. What looks defensive to you? Because you sound pretty downbeat.
Do I sound downbeat? I'm trying not to. My therapist said, don't be downbeat. No, defensive value can outperform if you have a moderation of U.S. GDP, if inflation is somewhat sticky, closer to 3% on core than to the Fed's 2% goal, which has been our view for a while, and it looks like it's very possible. Things that people thought would relieve them, like housing, have not relieved them yet. So that includes, and also an S&P correction. If those three things happen, moderate GDP, sticky inflation, and a correction, then what you want is biotech, pharmaceuticals, commercial professional services like waste management companies, food, beverage, and tobacco, healthcare equipment, and supplies, and household products and utilities. So that's where we have been, albeit early, and that's what we've been in.
Well, not to get you more depressed, Barry, but pharma's just getting crushed again. I mean, much of it on the expectations, perhaps, that RFK Jr. will be taking over HHS. Back to the political side of this, I mean, how do you view that in terms of recommending that area with that as a potential prospect?
What's interesting about this is that as markets go up, people like this kind of, they talk about being depressed. Finance shows like this don't like these people very much. They want to usually propping up the market. When you look at what Warren Buffett's been doing lately, Berkshire Hathaway piling $300 billion of cash while stocks have been roaring. They always get criticism about that, and when markets go crazy, and then when there is a correction, he said a correction, so there's a crash or a correction, they go in and buy big. At that time, it's the buy low, sell high kind of thing. They've been a net seller lately in the past few quarters as markets have been kind of ripping. And now we've got Trump coming in and they're ripping even more.
Well, after seeing that he was in the bros group, right? So you've got Elon Musk and you've got Vivek and you've got Bobby Kennedy. You've got these guys as kind of accompanying Trump wherever he goes, like an entourage. That after that, I studied him pretty closely. I think he's much more of a quote threat to some of the fast food and some of the processed food and sugary drinks and so forth. So that's where I would focus on the risk, not so much on the pharmaceutical companies. We've been through these fights for years between whether pharma or biotech would have price controls or face a lot of pressure. But I don't see much political will to do that. I think it's really more of a food issue that he's going to focus on initially, because obesity is our #1 health risk in the United States.
Very interesting and difficult puzzle given some of the places investors are looking to hang out. Hope to talk a bit more in the near future. Good to see you again. Barry Bannister over at Stifel. Next guest does see geopolitical risks about to boil over and puts oil at risk in the first half of 2025. Joining us this morning, Barry Bannister, Stifel's chief equity strategist. Barry, good to see you again.
Good to see you.
Okay, so the train is approaching Crazy Town. That was interesting. The market train is approaching Crazy Town. What do you think of that? Do you agree with that? It's getting close. It's going to be interesting to see NVIDIA earnings tomorrow, as I said. Okay, let's just check the markets because they're closed now. Just the S&P 500s. Well, actually, let's go over to FinChat, which again is my favorite, my preferred thing, which I'm a affiliate of. Link in description for 15% discount if you want to see all this stuff and way more. So S&P 500, I think that is yesterday's. They haven't updated that yet. Let's see live. We've got 0.4% S&P 500, 0.28. 0.28. Sorry, let me just get it together here. So S&P 500 is up 0.4, Nasdaq's up 1%, and the Russell 2000 small caps up 0.68. Oil's up, gold's up, silver's up, and Bitcoin is up again too. Stock market today, Nasdaq jumps as NVIDIA surges before earnings and Wall Street shrugs off Russia-Ukraine tensions. Okay, yeah, remember that. There's a war going on. We don't tend to... Oh, okay. Now, I'm just going to run through... Let's just see more of the headlines here, and then we might look at something else. Okay. Opening bell. Yep, we go over there. So I like to check on actually finance. Yeah, Yahoo Finance. They have some good videos. There's some good news. We've got Bitcoin nears all-time high. Supermicro stock jumps. Company looks to avoid delisting. I mean, if you're invested in a company, is that really the best we can do to avoid listing? Okay, we've lost Instagram there, by the way. Because they have an hour. It's only an hour they permit over there to live stream. So I didn't say goodbye to people there. Stop. But I do concurrently stream over there and to X and to YouTube right now. Wish I could do it to TikTok, but I'm not allowed to go live over there. I don't have enough followers yet on the Art of Value TikTok. What tariffs mean for stocks and consumers? Should investors buy the dip? What dip? Not much of a dip. How Web3 is shaping the next evolution of the internet. Haven't heard them talk about Web3 for a while. Why this analyst is bullish on stocks. Retail investing trends. You know what? I'm not much interesting there. So what I want to see is Bloomberg. Let's see if there's anything over at Bloomberg. See what news is, what they've been talking about today. If there's anything interesting. By the way, I'm not doing one of these tomorrow. I've got an early appointment. It's in the morning here for me, and I'll be out, so I won't be doing this tomorrow. By the way, and it'll be too late by the time I get back. Ukraine fires long-range missiles at Russia. Not good. And you know, those missiles are it's like proxy US missiles, right? I bet they're US missiles. So we've got actual US missiles being fired at Russia. It's not funny. I mean, Trump says there's no war started under him. Can he help with that? I don't know. The Democrats and Biden administration, there's warmongers in both parties, as far as I can see from outside the US. Tracking the flight to Wall Street South. Tracking the flight to Wall Street South. Okay, that's a real estate. G20 leaders gather for another family photo. Russia will respond to Ukraine's spikes with long-range missiles. Ugh. That is not great news. I hadn't seen that. They didn't show that on CNBC. Bloomberg has wider news. That is not great news. I do not like to see that, honestly. Russia does not want to see a nuclear war. Ugh, I would hope not. European startup takes on SpaceX. Okay, well, they've got a long way to go for that. The American-made missiles in action. See, they are American missiles going now straight into Russia. It's not great. Walmart boosts outlook on consumer search for value. Oh, so the war news is not great. Didn't seem to impact the markets very much. Just today, did it? Okay, so Marissa says, I think a lot of Americans are thinking something about to happen. There are people doing research about moving abroad for several years. Do you mean about the war? Or did you make that comment before we started seeing that? I mean, or something about to happen in terms of the new administration. I mean, people have been talking about this for years. Every time there's an election, people talk about moving away from the US. I mean, where I am, there aren't many Americans, not many Australians either. A lot of New Zealanders go and live in Australia, and there's a lot of back and forth, just like Canada and the US, I suppose. Well, there's probably more Canadians go to the US. I don't like the whole gun situation in the US, frankly. Seems dangerous compared to where we are. Although there are guns around here too. There are more guns here than people realize, because it's farming. There are a lot of rifles, and for a while there it wasn't hard to import them either. Illegal they are though, mostly, a lot of them. All right, so there's nothing much I want to see there. All right, so I think I don't want to go on just needlessly. If there's nothing else here, I might end this soon. I think that's the news. Tomorrow, as I said, I won't be here, but this is just a tester. NASDAQ pops 1% as Wall Street shakes off. Okay, sorry, not sharing. NASDAQ pops 1% as Wall Street shakes off geopolitical fears. NASDAQ rises 4%. NVIDIA rises 4%, not NASDAQ. Okay, so NVIDIA earnings tomorrow. Actually, I won't be here. I said I would be, but I won't. So we'll see. We have to catch up on that. I might make a video on it too. We'll see on the Stock Chat Show channel. Let's catch up on Tesla, what that's been going today. I always like to catch up on that because I make videos about that on the Art of Value channel. So 5 days, Tesla's up to 2.9%. No. Oh, yes. So 1 day, it's up. Today, it's up 2.4%. And year to date now, it's up 39%. It's had a run. It's had a good run. And it's going to be reaching, will it get to 407? And will it be, I think, excuse me, with the whole robot thing, I think if big news comes out, if they do a demo, Elon will be thinking about this. If they show robots autonomously working in the factory, that's something that could keep it rolling, I would say. It could definitely do that. So we'll have to see. We will have to see. I'll keep monitoring that. I'll be making more videos about that, about robots. I do like robots. I'm going to be following that, even though some of my audience won't be liking it. Regarding the new administration, Marissa says yes. Yeah. A lot of people have been, talking about that. I don't know whether actually they will. It depends what happens, how bad, if it gets bad, how bad it gets. Anyway, I think I'm going to end this stream now because I think we've caught up with the news. It's just over an hour today. I just do this when I feel like it, but generally this time of day is around the market close, before the market closes, and covering the news of the day. That's what I like to do myself, catch up on what's going on. We've done that. And so thanks for joining me today on this vertical stream. Do catch me again in the vertical stream. It goes into the short YouTube shorts shelf, I think, these vertical streams. That's a new thing, the live vertical streams on YouTube. So I'm trying that out. And as I said, concurrently on Instagram and on X as well. So join me again the next time we do this if you want to. And thanks for joining me today. You can always watch the recording as well. This is on Stock Chat Show channel. All right, thanks for joining me. Thanks for your comments, especially Marissa, for hanging out here. Good to see you here again, and I'll see you all again. Thanks very much, and I'll see you in stream. I'm going to hit end stream, so see you later.